Hello everyone! While the inhabitants of Earth are suffering from energy shortages and preparing for a war for resources, a group of scientists are sent into space to test a particular accelerator that should prevent chaos. Each failed attempt brings despair, but they don't know yet what kind of nightmare awaits them if the experiment is successful. In the near future, the world is on the brink of an energy crisis. Resources are already being given out in portions, and in 5 years the Earth energy reserves will run out. To save humanity, a space station equipped with a particle accelerator is built for an orbital mission that should provide the planet with endless energy. In Britain, scientist Ava Hamilton is talking in the car with her husband, Michael, while standing in a giant line for a gas station, when suddenly the lights go out everywhere. Her husband complains that this is the 5th blackout of the day, and asks what Ava said to a certain Joe about the invitation to participate in the space mission. The woman says that the mission could take years, and she doesn't want to leave her husband. To her surprise, Michael himself insists that she accept, for the fate of mankind depends on it.
I'm afraid if you don't, no one will.
We moved to Cloverfield Station. It's been almost 2 years since the operation began. Coordinator Ava Hamilton and her 6 crew members are working on launching the Shepard particle accelerator. All their attempts are, however, in vain. One morning, Hamilton contacts her husband on video call. He reports that life hangs in the balance, the oil wars are raging, and the only hope is that the Shepard will eventually work. Ava's news is disappointing. The entire crew is near despair, and the remaining fuel is enough for only 3 attempts to launch the accelerator. Nevertheless, Michael says that he believes in the success of the operation. The call is cut off. Ava wipes her tears and watches a video of her husband and children. When she arrives for breakfast in the wardroom, the entire crew is already assembled. One of the participants, the Russian scientist Volkov, discusses how he's kept all readings at optimal level for 2 years and hasn't allowed a single pressure surge on the ship. Unlike the German Schmidt, who allegedly did nothing for the sake of the mission. Schmidt's girlfriend, Tam, steps in for him, and it's clear from the dialogue that they are a couple. The Russian does not yield, and a scuffle ensues. Captain Keel breaks them up and urges to prepare for another launch. During the preparations, the guys watch a broadcast from Earth. On the screen is a scientist and an author of the book, The Cloverfield Paradox, who opposes the mission. According to him, it can lead to terrible consequences and release horrible creatures from another dimension. The captain calls this nonsense and demands for the broadcast to be turned off. Finally, a miracle happens. For the first time, the launch is successful. Suddenly, the systems report an overload, and the ship's functions are partially disrupted.
What the hell is happening?
A fire breaks out on one of the desks. The temperature rises, communication systems fail, and the crew decides to turn on the ventilation system. While the astronauts struggle with the problem, it turns out that not only is there no communication with Earth, the planet has literally disappeared. Volkov speculates that they must have been thrown to the other side of the galaxy during the overload. Another member of the mission, Dr. Monk, thinks they have accidentally destroyed Earth. In the wardroom, the captain instructs the crew to split into pairs and begin with the diagnostics of the ship. When Hamilton and Volkov come to inspect one of the ships, Ava finds the most important element, the gyroscope, is missing. The Russian swears that he checked it personally before launching. The man keeps rubbing his right eye in a weird way. All of a sudden, a frightening sound is heard throughout the station. Soon the crew finds the source. It's coming from behind a panel in one of the compartments. Keel orders it open, and everyone freezes in terror. They see a girl screaming heart-rendingly. Wires run through her body. The stranger addresses Ava by her last name and asks for help. The astronaut manages to free the girl and sedate her with anesthesia. On Earth, meanwhile, Michael wakes up to an explosion outside his window. There's panic on social networks. People think it's the beginning of a nuclear war, but the authorities refute this theory. In space, however, the crew argues about how they can find Earth and survive. Schmidt believes that relaunching Shepard will help. He intends, along with Tam, to take charge of their rescue. Meanwhile, Volkov looks at himself in the mirror and sees his eye drifting off to the side. When the eyeball returns to its usual place, Volkov begins talking to himself, as if responding to orders, and then takes off to construct a gun. He heads to Schmidt and Tam and accuses the former of sabotage and working for German intelligence. Suddenly, Volkov starts foaming at the mouth and has a seizure. He's carried to the medical bay, where he first spits blood and then worms, which had disappeared from the tank after the overload, gush out of his throat. He dies. His handmade pistol is hidden in a safe. Ava visits the mysterious stranger. She introduces herself as Mina Jensen and wonders how Hamilton ended up in the station, since she's supposed to be their civilian coordinator who stayed on Earth. Allegedly, Mina worked with them on the team and went on a mission with the rest of the crew, all but Tam. Ava says it's thanks to Tam that they even have the accelerator, but Jensen denies it. According to her, she's the one who created Shepard. The girl is upset that none of them recognize her and tells Ava not to trust Schmidt, assuring her that he was the one who set up the sabotage. Their dialogue is heard by Keel. He finds confirmation in the database and lashes out at Schmidt, claiming that his cooperation with the intelligence service has been exposed. The German denies everything, but Keel is adamant. He locks him in a separate room. Once again, we see Earth. Michael is driving to work while talking to the same Joe who invited his wife on the mission. The interlocutor tells him the terrible news. The station can't be found. It's literally gone. Michael is shocked, more by what he sees than what he hears. He promises to call back and parks next to the hospital he used to work at as a doctor. Now, there's nothing but smoking ruins. The man notices a strange entity in the smoke and hears a cry for help. In the rubble, Michael spots a crying girl. On the ship, repairs are underway. Mundy is working with what looks like iron assembly foam when all of a sudden his hand is pulled into a panel. Keel and Hamilton come to the rescue, but
Where's my arm?
Schmidt soon discovers Mundy's lost limb. It crawls on its own, shocking those around it. The German physicist suggests that overloading is to blame. The devilry is caused by the fact that two separate realities are now fighting for the same place in the multiverse. The hand, meanwhile, is trying to write something. As it turns out, a message: cut Volkov open. Inside the Russian, the crew discovers the lost gyroscope. The device is returned to its place. Thanks to the ingenious mechanism, the crew manages to realize that they have not destroyed the Earth, but are on the other side of the sun. Communication with the Earth is restored. The guys turn on the news and hear the unbelievable. There have been many casualties and the European War entered its 14th month. In addition, everyone believes that the Cloverfield station has been destroyed and that its wreckage has fallen into the Atlantic Ocean. Once again, it dawns on Schmidt.
It's much worse than we thought. It's not just particles of two dimensions interacting. We've traveled to another one.
So they find themselves in an alternate reality, and this Earth is not theirs. The only thing, according to Schmidt, that will help them is to repair and restart Shepard. On the real Earth, Michael rescues the recently found girl, Molly. The man tries to call the child's parents, but to no avail. He promises that he will find her relatives, and he texts a friend asking him for permission to stay in his bunker, where he brings Molly. In the other universe, Dr. Monk brings Mina food. The girl explains that the overload caused Shepard to collide with Higgs boson, causing them all to end up in her dimension. She asks him to tell the others if they escape from here, she will be locked in their dimension. Tam and Schmidt decide to check if the accelerator is overloaded due to the condensation and conduct eventing simulation. The girl is in the airlock, when during the test, water starts pouring out of the vents. She's unable to get out and calls the crew for help. The captain and Hamilton arrive. The room is now completely filled with water. At some point, the hatch cover leading to an open space fails and is ripped off. The girl is instantly frozen alive. In the bunker on Earth, Joe tells Michael over the phone that they can't find the wreckage of a ship. Michael somehow realizes that it has something to do with other dimensions. He asks Joe to find Molly's parents. Suddenly, the lights in the bunker start flashing red. In the meantime, Mina says she can rebuild Shepard. This, however, requires all of Schmidt's blueprints and 210 kilowatts of electricity. It's almost impossible under current conditions, but the guys decide to try nonetheless. When Ava brings Mina to the cabin to give her a change of clothes, a dialogue ensues between them. Hamilton wants to know if Jensen remembers her family, and without hesitation, Mina names her husband and children. With tears in her eyes, the protagonist asks if her friend, that other Ava, was strong enough to stay on Earth after the fire. We learn that the real Ava installed a fuel cell in the house so her children would have light. It caused her son and daughter to die. Then, Mina plays a video showing Ava from this dimension and her whole family alive and happy. This version of Hamilton did not fly into space and stayed with her family. Ava goes to the captain and confesses that she'll do anything to launch Shepard and send them home, but that she will stay. Keel tries to dissuade her, but Ava is undeterred. She believes that here she can at least save her children. To get the electricity he needs to fix the accelerator, Mundy decides to act unconventionally. He wants to turn off the oxygen pumps, turn on the Shepherd to provide power, and turn the pumps back on. Keel warns him of the risks.
The pumps will need to be deactivated from the maintenance ring.
Mundy assures them he can do it with even one hand. At first, everything goes smoothly. He uses the iron foam miracle device again, turns off the pumps and redirects the oxygen, until at some point, he's magnetized to one of the panels. The iron foam reacts to the magnets as one would expect. Long tentacles grab Mundy and press him against the wall. The most horrible thing happens.
My God.
The crew members are shocked. Mina says that now one of the parts of the ships, the ring, rotates on an axis of 17 degrees, and as soon as it reaches 25, they will die. The captain proposes to disconnect the ring. Monk and Hamilton go with him on a mission. On the spot, they see a giant hole in the deck. At this time, the values of the rotation axis grow at a tremendous rate. The moment the value almost reaches the critical 25 degrees, Keel realizes they cannot disconnect the parts and orders to shut down the hydraulics. Ava disagrees. It means the captain will die in outer space. Keel, in turn, says she can reroute the station home, and he must perform his duty as captain. The ring disconnects with him. Eventually, the Doctor and Ava return to Schmidt and Mina. Hamilton gives the command to get ready for launch and hands the others the launch keys. According to the plan, she and Jensen will go into the capsule and fly to this Earth, and the others will go home. But not everyone's on board with it. With everything almost ready, Mina takes Volkov's gun from the safe. Already in the capsule, she knocks out the chair-bound Ava, then finds the Doctor and demands the trigger key. She needs Shepherd to save humanity in this dimension. When Monk refuses to hand over the device willingly, Mina shoots him and takes the key away. Ava hears the shot. She wakes up 30 seconds before the launch and cancels it. The woman finds the Doctor, but it's too late. He dies in her arms. Hamilton catches Mina next to Schmidt and tries to reason with her, yet to no avail. Jensen points her gun at Ava, but misses as Schmidt hits her from behind. The protagonist runs away. During the struggle, Mina shoots the German in the chest. And so Mina arrives at the cabin where Hamilton is hiding. She tries to provoke feelings in the woman by mentioning how her children and husband need her, and even turns on the very video of her happy family. After receiving no response, Mina finds tougher arguments.
You may be willing to kill your children again, but I won't let those people down there die.
Ava finally comes out of hiding and confronts Jensen. During the tense battle, Hamilton manages to take the gun from Mina. She shoots at the screen from which her children are smiling at her. The bullets go right through. Ava grabs onto the nearest ledge, and Mina is drawn to the screen with irresistible force. Hamilton manages to close the doors on her side a second before Jensen is thrown into space. It turns out that Schmidt survived. Ava helps him and then sends a touching message to herself from this dimension. She asks herself not to install a fuel cell at home and to spend as much time with her family as possible. The two of them launch Shepherd and finally see Earth. The coordinators are on the line. They ask where Cloverfield has been all this time, but the signal cuts out. The guy says, "Wait for us," and head home. Michael is also informed of this. Joe says that his wife will soon be on Earth, but there's a problem. Due to the unstable communication, the crew is not told what horrors are happening on the planet. Michael is shocked, but Joe supports his argument by stating that they could not stay on the station.
There is a choice. Tell him not to come back.
And he reacts impulsively for a reason. An unpleasant surprise awaits the guys at home. Do you think there was any other way out? Share in the comments what you think of Mina's motive and whether Ava was right to give up the idea of staying in that dimension. Give us a like and don't forget to subscribe, and look forward to more fantastic stories.